Why was the ghost mad at her husband? He was dead wrong. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Kelsey.
Never talk like that in the stabbing wagon.
This week it's... Oh, I didn't fix the line! Well, this week, 2009's Ghost of Girlfriends Past. So what do you think the story was? Wait, this week, Boo! With 2009's Ghost of Girlfriends. Because it's ghosts. Alright, so what do you think the story was?
This week we've got a real Scrooge.
No, I thought you were going to say the superior line of this week, it's a real Scream. Because ghosts.
Not really about ghosts, is it?
It kind of is.
This movie. It is a romantic comedy about a guy who hates women and just sleeps with them and then is showed that he's been terrible to women in the past. Specifically one woman.
Yeah.
The love of his life.
Yeah, Connor Mead is a photographer. And
Connor Mead is a douchebag.
Connor Mead must die.
They already did John Tucker Must Die, and John Tucker was just as bad.
So I put, because this is 2009, my first note of the whole movie was Connor Mead's going to be a big name in the Me Too movement. Because what a piece of shit. He's a photographer, and it shows women coming to take photographs for him and not realizing they're going to get naked. He's just immediately ordering them stripped down. Horrible dude. And you see him, just the way he is with women, he sleeps with everyone and anything. He breaks up with several women at the same time over a...
conference call.
Yeah, just nonsense.
And then he drives to what we learn is his childhood home and interrupts his brother's rehearsal for the wedding.
Yeah, so his brother Paul is having a wedding at their Uncle Wayne's estate. He interrupts this rehearsal dinner, and then he's a shithead at the rehearsal dinner. He gives a speech about how love's not real, and he doesn't care about any of that shit, and he doesn't want to give a speech, he doesn't want to be there. All this nonsense that you shouldn't be saying. He even, being a photographer, you'd think, oh, he's going to photograph his brother's wedding. Somebody brings that up, and it's funny because the guy keeps shit-talking him at the thing.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, who is this guy? But the guy says, it's the least you can do, which truly, it is the least you can do, since you're a horrible dude.
Yeah, I agree. We learn that he slept with all of the bridesmaids except one, but one of them, he is their childhood friend.
The bridesmaids, I cannot let this go. How horrible they are.
Yeah, they're pretty awful.
These women are supposed to be there for the bride. All they care about is having sex with Connor.
Except Jenny.
I don't even know if she's a bridesmaid. I don't know if she was a bridesmaid or just a wedding planner.
I think she was the maid of honor.
Okay, well, yeah. But they just want to have sex with him the whole time. They're shit-talking him. They're all trying to get in bed with him, even though that most of them have all slept with him. Mm-hmm. And he's doing the same. He's wants to sleep with whoever. He's trying to treat this wedding like an orgy. Not to mention, as it comes up through the movie, one of these bridesmaids slept with the groom.
Yeah, Connor tells one of the other bridesmaids that before he says, go up to my bedroom. I'll be there in 5.
Yeah, the reason that he doesn't end up doing any of this is because he sees his Uncle Wayne's ghosts. And his Uncle Wayne tells him, basically, you're going to be visited by these 3 ghosts. Starting off with Allison, who's his actual ghost of Girlfriends Past.
In her ugly 80s outfit, Emma Stone in all her glory. You could clearly tell that was his first.
I think that Emma Stone is doing God's work in this movie. She's carrying this movie on her back.
She is carrying the movie on her back.
Her shit is hilarious that she, acts like she shouldn't have been worthy of Connor, so the whole time she's like, me with Connor Mead, and she's got braces, she's got just the whole, jean jacket thing going on. But as the Ghost of Girlfriends Past, she shows him basically his history with Jenny and how he became who he is. So
it turns out that his entire past is about his relationship with Jenny over the years.
So he, him and Jenny grew up together. They kind of really liked each other. And then as they get to middle school, there's a moment where they're at a middle school dance. He doesn't ask Jenny to dance. Instead, this kid, I didn't get his name.
Pete?
Yeah, I think it's Pete. I don't know.
We'll say it's Pete.
Well, he asked Jenny to dance instead. And because Jenny dances with a different boy at a middle school dance, Connor decides to be the biggest piece of shit for the rest of his life.
Because he's crying to his uncle about it, and his uncle's in a bar and teaches him the ways. And so after that, he ends up traveling with his uncle and not going to school and not coming back until high school.
Yeah.
Because they talk about how they hadn't seen him in a few years, and Jenny was really excited to see him.
I just really, again, I don't want to gloss over the fact that everything in this movie is because he's mad about her dancing with someone else at a middle school dance.
Correct.
What a fucking loser. Move on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's an asshole now. He comes back and he's, has an opportunity to talk to Jenny, but he ignores her until they're a little older. But before you see that, there's a moment where he comes out of this, and I think this was a problem for the movie. I think you should have done the three spirits all at once. Instead, he gets up after he meets with that first spirit, and he tries to go reconcile with Jenny, but he also fucks up the wedding cake, which makes everybody mad at him. He just goes up to Jenny and is basically like, we should get together, and tries to kiss her, and it's super weird.
It is weird. And Jenny has been talking to this. She's a doctor, and she's been talking to this other guy who's a doctor that Connor's brother and his fiance Sandra have brought to the wedding.
I also hate that. I think why is this wedding about setting people up? I think if you go to weddings, I know this is a thing for people, but if you go to weddings just looking to hook up, don't come.
Wedding crashers.
Even wedding crashers, I think, kind of makes a point of how shitty it is that they do that.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
But, yeah, this dude, Brad, and Jenny are trying to hit it off, which kind of makes him mad. He ends up leaking, like we said earlier. Connor leaks that one of the bridesmaids slept with Paul. This causes a rift between Paul and his to-be wife.
That's after he sees the second one. Sees the second ghost.
Oh, yeah. He sees the ghost of girlfriend's present, which is his assistant. It doesn't really matter, the girlfriend's part.
Yeah.
So his personal assistant shows him, what does she show him that's important?
She shows him his relationship with Jenny and how they met after she was a resident, and they met and they started actually dating, and then they slept.
Because she forced it, though. That's the only reason they were dating, is because she wouldn't sleep with him. He was still a piece of shit. He just kept trying to get into her apartment, and she kept being like, no, and so that's why they dated.
And then he finally stopped, and then the assistant said, this is the moment that you truly fell in love with Jenny, and this is the moment you realize that you're scared. And then he leaves her in the middle of the night and never speaks to her again, and 10 years had passed, and then she saw him at the wedding, but they hadn't seen each other since that night.
Yeah, which, again, jerk. What? And it's, it's less of oh, you didn't call me the next day. This is somebody that you've built up this relationship with, and she specifically wakes up in the middle of the night to see him leaving and is like, don't do this.
Yeah.
And he does it anyway. Yeah, so then, the wedding is called off because the bride finds out about this bridesmaid thing, and, there's a question of whether or not it was cheating, about when it was. It feels like they never really cleared it up, but if he cheated, yeah, done.
Yeah.
And also, that bridesmaid, I think, gets off with it too easy. They just act like it's not her fault.
Yeah, which, Connor mentions that in his speech. What I want to say is that the wedding cake for me would have been the last straw. I would have been like, you just need to leave. I don't want you here. And they asked him to leave in the moment that I actually thought he was trying to be helpful.
Yeah, when he is trying to talk them
into staying and actually getting married, and her not leaving, and all of this stuff. And then it's nighttime. He goes back to sleep. He's going to wake up the next day, and it'll be the wedding. And he's visited by a ghost of girlfriend's future, which shows Jenny marrying that
Brad.
one guy. What?
Brad. And him dying. And, nobody's there.
The only person that goes to his funeral is his brother.
Yeah. So, it's exactly the, Christmas Carol story. They are trying to make a point of that. So the day of the wedding, he wakes up after experiencing all this. He's a changed man. He runs down the bride and their party and convinces them to come back. He gives a nice speech at the wedding. He reconciles with Jenny.
He actually photographs the wedding, too.
Yes, exactly. Everything's different. He's different. And that's it. So
him and Jenny get together. If I was Jenny, I'm just saying I'd ask for him to get tested for everything.
Yeah. The budget for this movie was $37.5 million. It made $102.4 million.
The fact it made that much money is astounding to me.
The thing is Matthew McConaughey was a big name in rom-coms at the time, and people wanted to see him in these movies. So people were going to the box office for his name. The Rotten Tomatoes score, however, is at a 27%, with most critics calling it something unoriginal. So even though it did make a profit, it didn't do well. I rated this movie a 2 out of 5. And I'm not against rom-coms. I don't watch them often, but it's not that I'm really not one of these fucking people. It's just like hating on rom-coms. I think they can be done well. I actually really do like the ghost aspect of this movie. Like, one thing I specifically wrote down that I liked is I like the way they transition between areas when he's like talking to the ghosts. Like, they'll walk through a door in a teenage basement apartment, and when they walk through the door on the other side of the door, they're now in a college, or just something like that. Like, I think all that stuff's done really well. I think Emma Stone, again, was fantastic. Her character's great. Even Michael Douglas, he plays Uncle Wayne, and I think he's quite funny. It's really not even the performances. It's just like I said earlier, the pacing of the fact that they have him wake up after talking to the first spirit and go and try and reconcile. It's too early. Don't do all the ghosts, and then you come out. Why are we doing this fake way, like fake halfway? Oh, I'm different, but you're not really different. You're just padding out the movie. Connor, he's horrible. Like, I don't think what he did was enough to I wouldn't have gotten back with him if I was Jenny, and not just because of he left her that one night, but because of who he's been this whole time. He grabs the breast of the bride's mother in this. Yeah. Like, he just walks up to her and just grabs her.
Yeah.
And tries to sleep with her. It doesn't end there. He continues to try and sleep with her. So
I gave this movie a 1.5. I did not like it. I agree with you. I think that if they had him do all of these horrible things at once and then sleep on it and then wake up and maybe give him like a day or two to like show that he's changed rather than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It would have landed better. Maybe a 2.5.
I think a problem that rom-coms have is it always has to end up with the couple together. I think a movie like this should end with maybe he's changed and Jenny's considering it. They don't need to be together.
Your favorite rom-com ever ends with the couple not together.
Yeah, what is it?
500 Days of Summer.
Oh, is that a rom-com?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like it's a romance movie.
I think they just happened to record Zooey Deschanel and
Oh my god.
Anyway, I think that you can show romance and give people that feeling in their heart without always being like, and then they lived happily ever after. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. Okay, I have 5 reviews here for you that I'm going to read to you, and you need to guess which one of these movies it is. It's from this iconic collection of movies where Matthew McConaughey is unable to stand up on his own. As you can see, he's...
I've actually never seen Surfer Dude.
Me neither. I've also never seen Failure to Launch. But I've seen
I haven't either.
Ghost of Girlfriend's Past and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Those 4 movies, as you can see based on the poster, Matthew McConaughey is unable to stand up.
So for the audience, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, Failure to Launch, and Surfer Dude.
Yes. So 5 reviews. You tell me what movie. Mm-hmm. I think my favorite rom-com trope is Matthew McConaughey manipulated by beautiful women.
Ghost of Girlfriend's Past?
No, it's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
I don't really find him to be manipulated in that movie, but sure.
I don't remember that movie. To fully redeem the character that McConaughey portrays in the first 70-odd minutes of this movie, the runtime would have had to be closer to 7 years.
Ghost of Girlfriend's Past.
Yes. This movie is the most accurate rom-com because he thinks he's being so smooth, and her friends are just mocking him behind his back.
That's either Failure to Launch or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Maybe it is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and the first one was Failure to Launch.
I think that's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Okay, then the first one was Failure to Launch.
Oh my god, he can't even get it right, people.
I can't write down the answer because you can't stop looking at my screen.
I can't even see the screen because this mic is in the way.
Yeah, but I watch you sometimes. Yeah. Okay. The shit I watch just because it's under 90 minutes.
I feel like maybe that's Surfer Dude.
Yes.
I've never heard of that movie, so I imagine it's awful.
I've heard good things. All right, the last one is it's so easy for a female-targeted movie to be sexist when written by idiots.
That has to be Ghost of Girlfriend's Past.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it sure is sexist. Okay. Obviously, this movie never had a sequel, but what's your sequel?
It's called Ghost of Lovers Past. I don't really know how you'd classify it. I didn't write this is not a sequel. It's not a prequel. So I don't know.
Is Matthew McConaughey in it?
No.
Well, do you think as an ode to him, we could have the characters on the cover look like they can't stand up on their own, like leaning?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
the main character is going to be a woman. The main character has a past of many lovers, both men and women, and she works a cutthroat job as a lawyer. She continually wins and makes other people in her field look bad. One night, some people try and murder her. So she fights some of them off, gets knocked unconscious, and she's visited by past lovers to show how badly that she has treated them. She still argues it's not on the ground for murder, which I agree with.
Wait, is that why she's being murdered?
Yeah.
Because she was bad to her lovers?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've missed
She's just one of those people who will do anything to get to the top. You know what I'm saying?
And get some top.
Yeah, that's right.
Am I right?
It turns out to be a murder plot by a new lawyer coming to work with her, who is also her most famous ex from law school, and she took the job away from him, and that's why they broke up. Once she wakes up, she's able to fight and win, and he is arrested, and she meets a detective at the end of the movie for a, quote, meet cute to say hello. The end.
Okay, yeah. A little shorter than mine, so I win. But,
Oh, okay.
You know who does the visiting old exes trope better in a movie? Is Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim does do it. That
And
was
he's
our
a
very
shithead.
first episode ever.
Scott Pilgrim's a
he
shithead
cheats.
too, but, you know, by the end of it, I don't feel like, I'm not like, well, fuck. I hate him.
Scott Pilgrim's a cheater.
Like, the whole time I have to remind myself that movie, I'm like, oh, you're actually a shithead. Whereas in this, the whole time I'm just looking at Matthew McConaughey like...
You don't deserve her.
All right.
He kept getting older and they all stayed the same age.
Yuck. Mine's Ghost of Fiancé's Past.
Oh.
It is the day of Jenny and Connor's wedding. As Jenny is having her hair done, she confides in her bridesmaids how nervous she is about whether or not this is the right decision. Her bridesmaid tries to talk her out of her nerves, but she gets overwhelmed and she suddenly faints. Jenny awakes in the room, but she is alone until a little girl enters the room. It's a younger Jenny who informs her she will be met by 3 spirits to assist with her feelings of unease about her wedding. The first spirit is Pete Hastings, and he shows Jenny scenes from her childhood, reminding her how many dreams she had as a child about what her life could be one day. The second spirit is Brad, who shows her how she felt when she had finally begun to move on from her feelings about Connor. And the final spirit is an old Connor showing Jenny a view of what their life could be together, with a glimpse of kids seen in their home just as Jenny begins to wake up. Jenny's wedding party surrounding her, she announces she knows what to do. Years later, we see Jenny looking very happy, and just as we almost catch a glimpse of her hand where her wedding ring might be, the movie ends.
Oh.
Also, I forgot to do trivia, so I'm going to go back and do that now. All at once.
Are you going to, like, cut it?
Nope. This is where the trivia goes. I never make mistakes, so we never cut or edit anything. I've never messed up an episode in my life.
Okay.
Krista B. Allen played the younger version of a character played by Jennifer Garner in 13 Going on 30 and this movie.
Remember? I told you that while we were watching
You sure did. In this movie, a bookstore appears in the background named Fezwig's Books. In A Christmas Carol, Mr. Fezwig was Ebenezer Scrooge's first boss.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This movie was released in Germany as Night of Ex-Girlfriends.
Okay.
Originally, this movie was set up at Walt Disney Pictures with Ben Affleck attached to play the lead character and Kevin Smith to direct.
Maybe it would have been better.
Maybe. Ben
Probably
Affleck
not.
and Jennifer Garner were together, so I don't think they didn't have chemistry. I just think I hated it.
Yeah.
Several of this movie's stars went on to play roles in the MCU. Jennifer Garner played Elektra, Michael Douglas played Hank Pym, Matthew McConaughey voiced Cowboy Pool, bet you didn't know that one, and Emma Stone played Gwen Stacy alongside Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker.
She got her neck snapped.
Whoa! Andrew Garfield reprised his role as Peter Parker with Tom Holland in Spider-Man No Way Home, and Tom Holland, of course, started that trilogy with Spider-Man Homecoming, which also featured Donald Glover as Aaron Davis, who is the uncle to Miles Morales. Donald Glover, of course, starred in the TV show Community, where he was featured wearing Spider-Man pajamas as a reference to an online campaign to get him an audition for the lead role in The Amazing Spider-Man. Miles Morales co-creator Brian Michael Bendis describes that image of Glover in the Spider-Man pajamas as one of the major inspirations for the creation of the character. Donald Glover also voiced Miles Morales in Disney's Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon series, and most recently appeared once again as Aaron Davis or the Prowler in Across the Spider-Verse.
That was just too easy for you, wasn't it?
I don't know what you mean.
I think it was.
I just was hitting on my trivia that I forgot to do, or didn't forget to do because I never make mistakes.
You didn't.
So, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod?
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or let us know your idea across our socials, or at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you're listening. If I could ask you for one thing, it's to share a show with someone, leave us a review. That is how we get new listeners. Of course, I also ask that you come back for more Needless Sequels. Next week, we're watching The Martian on Max. I've heard it's very good. I've never seen it, but I'm glad because it's been a few episodes of mid-movies.
It has been a few episodes of mid-movies.
Today, I want to close with a line from Matthew McConaughey's character in We Are Marshall. Lay it on the line until the final whistle blows. If you do that, we cannot lose. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye!